Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. I know it's been a while since I posted a review, and there's a reason for that. My hands have been kind of full lately. The Weeknd recently just dropped his newest album entitled Dawn FM, and shortly after releasing the album, he made an announcement, which was a very clear hint that Dawn FM was part of a new trilogy that he was working on. And due to sonic similarities between Dawn FM and After Hours, an album that he released in 2020, I figured, oh, it's obvious. These are both parts of this new trilogy. So the third installment is probably right around the corner. And so I figured that this was a perfect excuse to go back and talk about After Hours. I've never formally reviewed it, but I was a big fan of the album and still am. So, this is a perfect excuse to go back and just kind of go through my thoughts and what I feel about the album. After Hours dropped March of 2020, which was right when the pandemic was starting to kick off and lockdown was really a new thing that we were all trying to deal with. So this album came out at a perfect time for me personally. There was a lot going on in my life, and I feel like the album was the soundtrack to what was going on during that time. So without further ado, After Hours has a total of 14 tracks, and I don't really consider any of the tracks filler. But I'm sure that some of them stick out to some listeners more than others do, myself included. So, track number 1 is entitled Alone Again. The first half of this song is a really slow start. The beat drops about halfway into the track. The song features an 808 drum pattern. Several patterns are accompanied by these icy synth arpeggios and some kind of FM synth bass line that altogether, all these sounds come together to set the tone for this album very nicely. This is kind of a hint that this album was going to be a totally new era of The Weeknd, a very different, distinct sound. The Weeknd's vocals have some auto-tune thrown onto them for stylistic purposes. I consider them to be really clean and really airy. Track number 2, Too Late. This song features a lot of reverb and delay thrown onto The Weeknd's vocals. During the hook, his vocals are repeatedly pitched up and down. There's a lot of cool things going on there. And then there's this cool halftime beat playing on the song, which adds some groove to the tune. There's hints of a deep, distorted bass that shine through, especially towards the end of certain sections. And I'm a huge fan of that kind of wobble. There's like some sort of distortion thrown on it, and it's really cool. And there's even some dubstep drum patterns that kind of give the song some syncopation. I really like that. I'm a big fan of that. And all of these elements come together and keep the listener engaged with the lyrics. Kind of forces you to hear certain things versus others. Track number 3, Hardest to Love. This song is really nostalgic to me. It features some really nostalgic synth chords. The beginning of the song features Abel just kind of throwing some vocalizations out there to kind of open the curtains and reveal, which at the time was super unexpected, a light break beat, giving me some kind of like liquid drum and bass energy, which was super cool. I was not expecting to hear that at all. The instrumental itself is soft and complements The Weeknd's vocals very well. The main melody is really infectious and I would say really, really memorable. I'm a huge fan of the drum fills and the stutters with the kicks and the snares. It's cool stuff all around, all across the board. And there's also a synth choir that can be heard towards the second half of the song that plays in the background to kind of enhance not only the Weeknd's vocals, but also what I would say is a really angelic instrumental. Overall, really beautiful stuff. Track number 4, Scared to Live, features a subdued instrumental, very low-key synths and chords, which kind of leave the center stage wide open for The Weeknd's soaring vocals and melodies. Now, while this song might not be the most memorable on the album for me personally, it does hold a special place for me just because of everything that I was living through when this album came out. Track number 5, Snow Child. On this song, The Weeknd delivers a mix of almost melodic rapping and mellow instrumental. So The Weeknd's verses feature quotable couplets, which was pretty cool. It makes the song a little bit easier to remember. But it wasn't something that I really heard from him before, so it kind of sets this song apart from everything else on this album. I would consider this to be one of the B-sides of the album, but by all means, not a bad song. Next is track number 6, Escape from LA. I would consider this to be classic energy from The Weeknd, featuring flashy filters and reverb thrown onto his vocals, and transitional vocalizations. All sorts of cool stuff going on with his voice on this song. And the beat features a sharp snare and a deep kick. I really enjoy that. Sounds great in car speakers. There's also some cool muted drums halfway through the song, which kind of ushers in what is considered, I guess, the second big section of this song. It feels like the listener is being suspended into the air and facing the entirety of like some sort of Arctic tundra. It's really cool stuff. Track number 7, Heartless. This is one of those big features on the album, and I still have it on repeat to this day. The instrumental makes you feel like you're driving down some empty tunnel, and there's like red neon lights everywhere, and there's like wind rushing everywhere. It's a whole scene that plays in my head. The song features heavy kicks, spicy hi-hats, sharp snares and claps. Really turnt stuff. And The Weeknd, I would say, delivers some great vocals and verses. The hook is really catchy, and it does what it needs to. It's perfectly functional. I'm a big fan of the tune, and like I said, I've had it on repeat ever since the album came out. Track number 8, Faith. With an instrumental that feels like it was ripped straight out of a Gesaffelstein project, featuring Moog bass and drums to give the song a lot of synthwave energy, and The Weeknd's vocals are edited to fit that aesthetic. I'm a big fan of this kind of sound. There's a cool tune that highlights how low The Weeknd was feeling when working on this album, as if it wasn't clear enough before. Lyrically, he's all over the place on this album. It's a very dark place. And at the end of this song, you can hear sounds of like empty streets and police sirens. And The Weeknd's vocals are thrown into an interesting filter, which kind of slow the energy of the song and I guess the album down by a lot. And everything just feels like it's moving in slow motion at this point, which then propels us into the next huge single on the album, Blinding Lights, track number 9. This is a massive synth pop tune, and easily one of the catchiest melodies on the album, maybe even arguably one of the catchiest melodies that we've heard from The Weeknd thus far. A lot of cool stuff. The instrumental features a sick saw bass, which I really enjoy, and it gives the tune some grit, and that's juxtaposed with sparkly synths and lots of angelic vocals from The Weeknd. Overall, a very great pop tune, a very strong synth pop tune at that. Track number 10, In Your Eyes. This is another big synth pop tune from The Weeknd, featuring a syncopated Moog bass line, airy synths, and arpeggios. They give this song a lot of groove, a lot of movement. We can hear a rhythm guitar being played during the hooks, and on top of that, we get an amazing saxophone solo to close the song out. Overall, super nostalgic energy in this song, and I think that is a big reason why I enjoy the song. The production, the vocals, everything is just very nostalgic to me. Track number 10, Save Your Tears. I would say this is another big hit. He saved all the big hitters for the end of the album, it seems. This song features very catchy melodies. The instrumental has a strummed guitar, shiny synths that accompany The Weeknd's vocals and his melodies, of course. And there's a Moog bass that steadily chugs along, keeping the rhythm steady. And there's an equally steady synth pop drum pattern on this song, of course. I'm a big fan of the synth arpeggios that we hear towards the end of the song. They give the song a lot of breathing room, and shortly after the beat picks up, we get, at this point in the song, we get the Weeknd's voice stuffed into a vocoder. Very clean stuff. I want to hear more of that, but we just might get more of that. Right after this track, we get track number 12, Repeat After Me, Interlude. For an interlude, I would say that a lot of effort was put into the track itself. It feels like a full-fledged song. I wouldn't even consider it an interlude, to be honest. There's this thick-ass bass on this instrumental. The drums are low-key, functional, it does what it needs to. And the tune itself feels like some classic energy from The Weeknd. Very sexy stuff. And then the second to last song, After Hours. To me, this is the best song on the album, bar none. I chalk that up to the production. This is a point in the album where the temperature is ice cold. It's freezing. The intro gives The Weeknd room to breathe, flex his vocals, but the instrumental keeps the groove steady. There's lots of synth hits and syncopated pedal tones that are really enjoyable. And the beat, when the beat drops, everything just falls into place. A lot of attention was placed to the sonic landscape and the layering of this song. There's a lot of synth pop drums. There's a sawtooth bass line, tons of reverb on the Weeknd's vocals, but I wouldn't say too much. It's a perfect amount, a good mix. And there's about 3 or 4 distinct sections in this song that I can identify so far. I mean, the album's been out for 2 years, so that's what I hear as of now. And I would say that they give the song good pacing. It's kind of long, but it's paced very well, so it doesn't feel too long. And the song does play out like a scene, like a movie scene or something. And it's true to the melancholic spirit of The Weeknd's signature style. Finally, the last track, track number 14, entitled Until I Bleed Out. This song is equally sad and melancholic. There's great vocalizations from The Weeknd, and the instrumental itself, very spacious and airy. I would say the album ends on a whisper, a very subdued sort of note, and is very melancholic. I really like that sliding bass line on this song as well. Really cool. Overall, I would say that this album features The Weeknd exploring different musical styles, production styles, and adapting his own trademark sound into different musical contexts. He I would say he has tried this kind of sound before on certain cuts from like Starboy, for example, with songs like I Feel It Coming. That's the single entitled Starboy. But I think that this album was him revisiting that sound with a totally new perspective. Several years had passed between then and 2020. So I think that he wanted to revisit that sound and come at it full force. This album itself features production and engineering credits from the likes of Elangelo, Tahilia, Ricky Reed, Nate Mercerol, Oscar Holter, Max Martin, and another player, One O Tricks, who's a minor player on this album, but will be featured more predominantly in Dawn FM. Save my thoughts for a later time. All of them, kudos to them for coming together and make this album work as well as it did. Honestly, I don't think there's any certain song on this album that felt out of place. Everything kind of comes together really nicely, even though some songs are entirely different genres from the other. They all mesh really well. Stylistically, The Weeknd is almost like the glue that brings everything together very well. It's executed in a strong way. And I've spent hours listening to this album since it dropped back in 2020. It's been about almost 2 years at this point. And I think I've gotten everything I could have gotten out of the album, but I still have it on repeat to this point. The album does not get old to me at all. And there's no need to speculate on what the next album is going to sound like because it's already here. Like I said, I'm going to save my thoughts for a later time on that. I'm going to record that video at a later time. But for now, After Hours, great album, great start to this new trilogy, and I'm genuinely excited to hear what the entire trilogy has to offer for us. So, again, thanks so much for watching. If you've taken the time out of your day to sit here and listen to me talk about The Weeknd, thank you. I appreciate that. And if you've got music that you would like to share with somebody, I'm always here to listen to music. I'm always looking for new stuff to listen to. So I appreciate the sharing of music. So, yeah, hope you have a great day and appreciate it.